Hey, welcome to the Intentional Optimist Unconventional Leaders Podcast guest speaker series. I'm Andrea Johnson, the Intentional Optimist, and I'm excited to have my guest today. I've already got notes ready to go. Patty Dominguez is a positioning expert, as you can see on the screen here. And if you have not listened to the podcast from this week's episode is her story. So if you go to the Intentional Optimist Unconventional Leaders Podcast, the episode that is going to be at the top of the list is Show Up with Boldness and Courage with Patty Dominguez, and you're going to be so inspired. But today, she's going to talk to us about her expertise. So welcome, Patty.
Hello, Andrea. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me on once again, and I hope to provide tremendous value for your audience. So I'm excited.
Me too. And, I love talking to my guests the first time, the second time, however many times we talk.
Yeah.
But I loved our conversation a lot. I loved your story. I love that for me as a small business owner who's in the middle of a rebrand, this particular conversation could not come at a better time. Just in case those watching or listening may not have actually heard the episode yet where they get your story, do you mind giving us just a brief background to kind of get us started as to how you became that positioning expert?
Well, thank you so much. So, okay, basically, in a nutshell, I had the very good fortune to be involved on some pretty big product launches and introductions, having worked in Fortune 50 in corporate America for 18 years. And so the privilege of working there is like you get to work with new things, innovation, disruptive thinking, consumer packaged goods that were really on the forefront of creating new categories, if you will. So the whole idea of category of one is always going to back of mind to say, how can I position a new product, a new idea, a new innovation so that it stands out among all the rest? So long story short, when I quit my cushy job in 2013, I worked one day so I could get my big fat bonus. It's been 10 years since I've been an entrepreneur, and I've been doing some consulting since then. Well, I was struggling myself with positioning. I was sitting on it. It's like kind of like where you're in the glass and you can't see what's going on from the outside. That most definitely happened to me. I was leaning into what other people were telling me around how to kind of explain what it is that I do. So at the time, 2013, everyone was talking about social media. So I said, social media. Well, everybody's talking about social media at that time. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, maybe business coach. And it was just too basic, right? So I went back to the fundamentals that I had learned in corporate that I negated. And then I recognized, I'm like, okay, how do you find your sweet spot? Some people, like in the book, Blue Ocean. How do you find the blue ocean? I say, how do you find the white space? Right. Yeah. And the idea behind it is we are bombarded with so many messages at any given time. All of us have special abilities and talents and all the things. But if you don't stand out as different, then quite frankly, you're probably commoditizing yourself. So it wasn't until I was on a consulting gig and it was all about this new product launch introduction. I'm on a Zoom call with a whole bunch of people. And the product that we were launching was a chocolate chip cookie. So it's like, oh my gosh, if we're having all these discussions about a chocolate chip cookie, why are we not doing that as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs? Yeah. And so then I'm like, I'm going to focus on positioning. So the idea around positioning is basically a forgotten foundational principle. And the reason I say that is because when we start out our business, everyone gets super excited about their logo and their website and their branding and their pictures and all the fun elements. However, I am always saying, hey, listen, you have to have your positioning in place because that's basically the equivalent of the blueprints of your dream house. Positioning is the strategic foundation. So if you wanted to build a dream house, you would have those blueprints first. You'd go to the architect. Unfortunately, that's not very fun and sexy, but it's a fundamental necessity. Okay. And so what new entrepreneurs do, or people who are working on a rebrand, is that they're really focused on the brand identity, right? The logo, the website, the business cards. And that's just branding, which of course is important, but that's the visual interpretation, right? That's a visual interpretation of your brand, as opposed to the foundation around positioning is like your market, really understanding who specifically are you helping? What problem are you solving? Right? Because seasoned professionals really understand that it's about attracting the right clients to solve a problem. So
Yes.
who are they and why do they buy? I think one of the things that is often forgotten, quite frankly, is market research. It's not fun, it's not sexy, but it's a necessity. You got to understand so much that when your prospect is sitting across from you and they're reading an email or they're listening to you on a webinar or they're connecting with you on a podcast and they say to you, "Oh my gosh, it's like you're in my head, Andrea." That's how you
Hmm.
know you hit the mark, because you're speaking to their sensibilities. You're speaking to their fears, frustrations, pain points, dreams, desires, hopes, all of it, right?
Yeah.
Because people buy an emotion. I think it's, I don't know who said, I think maybe Claude Hopkins. I could be wrong on that, but basically the saying goes that people buy an emotion
Yeah.
and they justify with logic. Okay. And so while most of us are talking about the features of your widget or how you have this certification or how this is faster or all these things, understand that those are features. But when you talk
Mm.
about the benefits and you also add those elements of storytelling, the thing that makes you you,
Yeah.
right? That's how you really set yourself apart. So the first one is really understanding your market. The second one that I kind of went into is your message, right? Because when you have a message to market match, that's when you hit the mark, right?
Yeah.
So the message is, what is a unique message to you? A lot of times, unfortunately, what happens is, and I see this and where people will put together their website and it's templatized because they're following what other people are doing. And unfortunately, that's just more copycat marketing as
Mm.
opposed to really standing out on your own and saying, this is what I stand for, whatever that may be. Right. So, really adding more of the thing that makes you unique. This is what it's about.
Right.
It's not about being better. It's about being different. And in that differentiation, that's where you're going to attract people that are going to connect with you. And there's a really, really great blog post by Kevin Kelly. And he wrote a blog post. You may have heard of it. It's called A Thousand True Fans. You could find it. It's pretty
Yeah.
old. And so I
Yeah.
love that he
And
talked.
it's like it's out there and people talk about it. And I want to say the guy with the glasses,
Seth Godin.
Seth Godin
Seth
also has
Godin.
referenced it, and he's kind of made it very popular. It's like I could see his face. Okay, anyway, Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this blog post, right, is it's all about taking away the stress to think that we see these big personas and personalities out in the market, like let's say Tony Robbins or Marie Forleo, and they have phenomenal, huge followings. And they're like, oh, I'm never going to get to that level. And I know that when I've talked to clients and I've expressed this idea, they're like, listen, you don't need that many fans
Yeah.
if you just have 1,000 true fans. And I referenced this blog post by Kevin Kelly. It's like, in a world of, almost 8 billion people, arguably, it's about attracting those 1,000 raving fans, right?
Yeah.
It's about cultivating the relationship with 1,000 true fans. You'll have more business than you'll know what to do with, right? So that's really, when you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, you are absolutely able to attract 1,000 raving fans. So again, it's the market, the message, and then the offers. So the
So
offers is that third part.
do you want to just walk through all three, and then let me start asking questions of all three of them?
Sure, however
Okay.
you'd like.
Go
We can
ahead,
roll
because I
however you
have
want.
I have questions on each point. So you go ahead. Let's talk about the offer real quick.
Excellent. So in the for offers, it's like there's so many great books on offers, and really the idea behind it is, how do you create an offer so compelling, so irresistible that it becomes a no-brainer? And so where people are like, I have to do this. Like, I'd be crazy not to. Right. And so that an offer is only as good as the ability for you to convey the transformation that that person is going to get, and really sweeten the pot with all these other elements that make it so that you are predicting the what's next. So let's say, for example, you are a weight loss coach, right? And you are selling your weight loss program. You're selling your weight loss program. I would say, well, who specifically are you selling it to? Because if you say that you're for everybody, you're for no one. We already know that.
Sure.
So even if your offer is like, oh, everybody could use this, no, you can't. It's like casting a wide net in the ocean. Imagine you're just going to attract anything, as opposed to being really specific. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that we've narrowed that down to a weight loss program for postpartum moms. Well,
Mm.
if I've done my market research, I understand that postpartum mom is probably really busy. She's bogged down taking care of a new baby and adding in a whole slew of new responsibilities to her plate that she didn't even realize. So chances are, what are her pain points? Well, she doesn't have a whole lot of time. because she's changing a lot of diapers. Maybe she's breastfeeding. Maybe there's a lot of things going on that are really making it so that time is of the essence. So because I understand that problem, one of the bonuses that I could have with that program is how to like a whole meal planning for 30 days where you can make your meals 10 minutes or less. I'm being hypothetical, but see how that particular bonus is tying into a real problem that she's having. So it's like, I understand my market so that I understand what are the things that she's really going to need to make this a no-brainer offer is really what it comes down to. So that's just one little example of how when you're creating an offer, it's not just here's my coaching package. No, soup it up. Like, what else can you add? What can you basically add to the offer that is going to presuppose some of the situations that your prospective client is going through? And if you serve up those presuppositions as solutions, it's a great way to craft a great offer.
I like that presupposition. There's a book. Is it $1 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi? Is that the name of the book?
He has no, it's $100 million offer. So he wrote this book. I read it maybe a year and a half ago. Yeah, I think everybody read it. He talks about a grand slam offer. Yeah. So it's a really
kind of outlined a little bit. His stuff is if y'all really want to get into like the offer thing, it's like he outlines it, and it's like he makes the book accessible. It's free. I mean, almost free. You know, it's like it's really cool. But anyway, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's really wonderful offers out there. I know, I think it's Mark Joyner wrote the book on irresistible offers as well. That was going back maybe into the 2000s. So there's been a number of iterations of a different book. But at the end of the day, if you really do a cross section of those two books, it's like, okay, it's the solution, but how do you add in those extra layers that is going to sweeten the pot and kind of predict what other things your prospect is going to need is really the gist of how they both talk about it.
So you've given us 3 big pieces to make us an audience or to make us a category of one, right? Let's go back and get a little bit more practical on each one. So as far as the market is concerned, it's really easy to say you have to do market research. What is the easiest for a solopreneur? Maybe like there's nobody else but me. What are your best tips on how to do the market research that's going to get you the answers you need?
That's a really good, I think that's such an important question, a really great one, because you have to do it. I tell my clients, I'm like, if I see their copywriting and I'm like, okay, it's clear that you didn't do your market research. So it just, you have to do it. So a couple of things.
And it's overwhelming and you have to talk to people. And half the time, if somebody wants to be a digital entrepreneur, they're probably an introvert. I mean, it's just like,
well, so I have 2 ways that I suggest to my clients. Okay. So the first one is, okay, so this is an ode to Ryan Levesque, who is the author of a book. It's called Ask, A-S-K.
Yes.
Yeah. So he taught this concept. One of the things that he talked about surveying your audience is he came up with this idea that I've applied, and it really works, is that, okay, so this is the concept number 1, or way number 1, is that you want to have conversations with 20 of your clients, right? And 20 clients, and I would do it via Zoom. I would record the Zoom call most definitely. And then I would ask a series of questions like, what was the challenge that you were facing before you bought my product or service, right? And what was life like then? And what else did you try? Right? When it comes to X, what's your single biggest challenge is his line, right? And so when you're investigating and you're really putting it into context, and the thing that he says is like, you want to be a good steward of the data. In other words, take a look at the actual words that they're saying, because you may be conveying something in a certain way, but if you say it in the phraseology, if you will, of the client, that's even better. That's
Yeah,
even better.
using
So
their words. Yeah.
using their words, right? So you take those 20, you take a look at the data, you go back and you're looking at what was the pain points that they were having. What is life like now? What was the expectation on the solution that they wanted? What else did they try? What is life like now? So again, think about it in the whole journey of what they went through and just kind of compartmentalizing that with questions. And from there, those 20 conversations, you'll have the transcripts for it. You'll read through it. You'll see what are the words that are commonalities in here or specific emotions that are commonalities. And that's where you start to craft, oh, this is the messaging that really resonates with people. Okay.
So one caveat, that's assuming a business has 20 paying clients.
Correct. So that's concept number one, right? So I'm giving you way number one. Now I have way number two. Way number two is really leveraging the audiences of other experts. So you kind of moved me right along into this way number two, because it's exactly right. If you're like, well, I don't have any clients, what do I do? Right? Am I SOL here? No, you're not. Because what you can do is, let's say that as a business coach, I am interested, I'm starting out, and I really want to get a good handle on the market research. Who already has a big audience that I could leverage, right? So I'm thinking, okay, let's go to like Amy Porterfield, right? She's super popular. So many people know of her. So even if you were to go to her fan page, you're going to see, based on her postings, if you look at the thread of comments, maybe on a Facebook post or an Instagram post or a Twitter feed, and look at the interaction of what people are saying, right? Based on what that post is. Most people will sit there and give you the feedback like, oh, I tried that lead magnet, but that didn't work, and this and that. And so they're talking about their pain points in there.
Right
there. So go to social media threads, go to Reddit forums. People vent so much on Reddit forums. It's ridiculous. Like they do a drunkalogs of their situation.
Oh, don't they? And then people record podcasts. They record podcasts just reading Reddit stuff.
Yes.
I mean, it's just amazing.
Reddit is a gold mine of market research. And way number three, I know that sounds crazy. And then way number three is look at the books that are popular. So for example, when I first started my entrepreneurial career, the thing that really spun everything for me was when I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Oh my gosh, it opened my world. Okay.
It's a whole different way of thinking.
Totally different way of thinking. You can go to Robert Kiyosaki's book on Amazon and look at the reviews. And typically, if you look at the 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, you can see what were the problems that these people were having that you didn't realize. And so again, you're leveraging other audiences in your favor because you're looking at it from the lens of, let me find those pain points that they're having so that I know these are the pain points to address that I can use in my messaging. And my messaging, meaning on social media, in your emails, on your webinars, in your copywriting, etc. So this is the work. This is the work that is required in order to stand out. Really, it's about, again, how do you make the message so it's unique? How do you find the white space around what it is that you're doing?
Well, that's brilliant and very helpful. I had a coach who, I guess it's like sort of in between the 1 and 2, leveraging the audience of others and asking your 20 people. She said, have conversation projects. And she said, and we would just go out and we would post, I'm looking to talk to people about blah, 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 blah. And people would respond. And so then we would have individual conversations with upwards of 10 people. And it was amazing. I mean, that was the questions. And then you use their words and that kind of thing. So there is something in between. And that's Allegra Stein does that. It's called a conversation project. So these, if you're listening, are not the only ways to do that, but these are really brilliant. And being able, just being able to tap into other people's data, it's out there, right? I mean, we all say we don't own anything that's on any of these platforms. So you're not stealing anything. People are putting their comments out there in public, and it's really just a great place to find them. So as we move back into the messaging portion, can we talk a little bit about how you walk your clients through helping them find what's the most unique thing about them? Because you can do all this research and use other people's words, but if you're not doing any of your own story or if you're not sharing anything from yourself, how unique are you really going to be?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I think the one thing is, and I'll make it practical, right? Because we're on a time limit here, but we'll make it practical in that I gave you earlier in the explanation around that weight loss coach, right?
Hmm.
So typically, and check in with yourselves if you're watching this and you're like, answer the question, what is it that you do, right? So
Hmm.
typically,
Yeah.
if somebody says to me, I'm a health coach or I'm a business coach or whatever, it's too broad, too generalized, right? It's not special enough. So when you add in an area of specialization, now you're saying something different, such as a weight loss coach for postpartum moms.
Yeah.
That area of specialization, you are looking for a hole to fill. You're finding that white space. Okay. So when you're explaining what it is that you do, check in with yourself and saying, is it unique enough for somebody to say, "Ooh, tell me more?" Right? To
Right.
create curiosity and say, and having somebody tell me more. Because understand that if you just say business coach, okay, the person on the receiving end is going to make up their mind what they think it's about instead of crafting something really special and unique, right?
Mm.
And so from
Hmm.
a messaging standpoint, what I'm saying to you is find your area of specialization. How do you drill down to that sweet spot? Because
Mm.
if you're saying I'm a health coach for women, well, there's women at different stages of life cycle that are super different,
Hmm.
meaning a pregnant mom is different than a postpartum mom is different than a menopausal woman.
And that's the one
Postmenopausal,
I see out there all the time. It's like
yeah.
postmenopausal weight loss. It's like, are you targeting me for a reason?
You know, you probably are being targeted for real. So that's the whole thing, is that it's about finding that specialization,
Okay.
right? And then you're kind of threading that golden thread of that special way that you bring people to the transformation that they're looking for. And so there's this whole concept of that's called levels of market sophistication. It came from a book by Eugene Schwartz called Breakthrough Advertising. It's very, very hard to buy the book. I think if you want to buy the book, it's like $200 or something crazy like that. But if you go into this concept of the levels of market sophistication, it's going to give you the clues as to if, in fact, you have something that is really unique. And by that, I mean, okay, let me explain. So there's 5 levels, right?
Okay.
And at level 1, that was back in the day. Level 1, people would say, for example, I don't know, I'm being hypothetical. Let's say I don't know why I'm thinking this. Crisco cooking oil was the first uh, cooking oil to market. Okay. And it, I don't know, it helps shorten cooking time. So they are first to market with this idea. So they have no competition, right? So it's easy to say you're the first to market. That's why you have the first to market advantage. Okay. That's golden. Like you have a
Mm.
huge advantage when you say that. So level 2 is where somebody, for example, is they are a competitor and they're making a bigger claim, such as our cooking oil will help you cook your meal in 5 minutes, right? Where if you, again,
Or
being
won't
so
burn.
hypothetical, yeah, or won't burn. All right. Typically, most of us are not in level 1 or 2. We're just not, right? Because
Mm.
as service providers, which we'll probably be talking to, we're not. But level 3 is where you're introducing some kind of a mechanism. So you can include some kind of a mechanism, like what is that path that you take people through that is going to get them from the pain that they're experiencing to that pleasure that they want. So
Yes.
the mechanism is your framework, your blueprint, that
Yep.
special way that you do something. Okay.
Yep.
And then at level 4, people are saying, my mechanism is better than your mechanism. And level 5 is where skepticism is at an all time high, such as in the weight loss market. And it's super hard,
Mm.
right, to market at level 5 unless you have a very special brand, right? Unless you have that brand equity. So, all that said, most of us are in level 3 and 4.
Now, are these like progressive levels or just different types of?
I think there are different types of levels. I think it's not progressive because, well, it could be because the thing is, most of people in level 1 is at the birth of a market. It's the beginning of a market.
Yeah.
So that was way back
Henry
when.
Ford.
Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? So
Yeah.
that goes back. So while it is sequential, I think at this point, wow, what new markets are there? Maybe in AI, right? Where they're birthing
Yeah.
new markets and different things. So yeah, it's a good question. It would be a bit sequential.
Okay. So we market differently in level 3 than we would in level 4
Mm-hmm.
because we all kind of want to say my path is unique because
Mm-hmm.
that's what when I work on messaging, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, this is my path that I walk you through. This is my mechanism. This is my framework, etc. I actually have frameworks and such. So, and I have courses and I have IP and that kind of thing. So that's where we live, and that's what we literally, I can look up these 5 levels of marketing. Did you say sophistication?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you just do a search on it, they have some
Yeah.
images kind of
Okay.
explaining the concept.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that gets us through messaging, and we kind of talked a little bit more about offers, but do you find that there are offers that are easier to make based on understanding your messaging, or based on like when you have clients, do you normally start out with solopreneurs? Do you start with businesses that are already established when you work with them?
So typically the clients that I have more of established business. I do
Okay.
work with more startups, like just finding their way, where I truly work with both.
Okay.
So my coursework is very much for the service provider who is starting out, and they're in that mix where they're like, I'm struggling and I don't know how to find, why am I not standing out, right? So I do have
Mm-hmm.
a course called Category of One course, and it talks specifically about these steps.
Okay. And all of these are available on your website. Like we can find them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're talking about becoming a category of 1 today, and there is a way so let's talk about that. How could people work with you? If obviously if they're a solopreneur, that's probably the most economical way to work with
Yeah, for
you,
sure. It's
but it's
really
a good
great.
starting place.
Absolutely. And I
Okay.
purposely made it very affordable because I love small business. I love entrepreneurship. I think it's so important that people have um, this information. It's about establishing the foundation. See, a lot of
Right.
times these courses will talk about TikTok, Instagram, this and that. Those are all
Mhm.
tactics, right?
Right.
But if you don't have a message that's cohesive, that's unique in order to broadcast into the world, then you're just kind of throwing all kinds of stuff at the wall, and that leads to random acts of marketing. So what I'm purporting is that you want to have this foundation first,
Right.
it's literally the foundation. So, and I specifically made it affordable for that reason. And yes, I do copywriting. So I have clients that pay me, for example, to say, can you do my market research for me? Can you put together my sales page, or if I can do like VSLs for you and stuff? Yes, I could most definitely do that. It's what I do. And
Okay.
so that's really how I help my clients.
But the easiest and fastest way for people to get in touch with you or to learn from you is from your new ebook.
Yes, it's an ebook that's been around a while, but it's totally free. Here it is. It's positioning guide. And so in this guide, it's called Positioning to Profit, a guide for coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs struggling to stand out. It's a very common problem. It's a very common problem. And really, this is the starting point. You probably have a lot of this, Andrea. I'm telling you, you do. And so it's a great place to start. And then on the back end, I give lots of goodies. I'm a giver. I can't help myself. So there's different ways that you can partake. And again, it ultimately goes into, hey, Category of One course is great if you're looking for help with that. And then, and that's really what I do when it comes to the service-based entrepreneur. It doesn't
Excellent.
have to be hard. It really doesn't. And I think that if you're struggling, it's because take a look at, if you don't have the foundation and you're only focused on tactics, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's true anywhere. I think we would like to think that it doesn't have to apply to our business. I mean, I think there's plenty of things that we'd like to think don't have to apply to our business. Getting our finances in place,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
our messaging down, making sure that we have, like, I just did a trademark on my LLC name. And I mean, those kind of things, it's like, and I paid
Yeah.
IRS today, I mean, it was just like do the big girl business things to actually,
Yes.
it's legit. I mean, if you're really going to have a business, you can't
Yes.
sell anything and you can't do any of the other things. You can't hire anybody. If you don't have any money coming in the door because you're not positioning yourself, this is very important work. So whether or not I already have it, it's a free ebook. I take advantage of all that stuff, y'all. I mean, that is one of the best things to do. And I've written down all the people that you said. So, I mean, when you go and listen to people who are giving you the kind of advice that you need, it's imperative that you actually do something with it, and you remember to apply the information, because, like you said, you're a giver. Just being on here for 30 minutes gives us, it's a little masterclass on how to do it. It may be a masterclass on the actual ebook, right? So if you want to double down and get it, that's the best way to do it. Again, before we go, this week's podcast episode is it's show up with boldness. I was looking at the title of our thing today, showing up with boldness and courage. And that is something that Patty very clearly does. And you'll want to check out her story. It's beautiful. In the show notes of that episode are all the ways to contact her, all the ways to follow her. If you had to pick one social media, where do you want people to follow you on?
I love LinkedIn. I'm liking LinkedIn lately, just because I've had such a hard time with Facebook and Instagram. My stuff got banned. I don't even know why.
Oh,
just
weird.
a hard time. Yeah. So
It is
LinkedIn.
Facebook is mean.
Oh my gosh. We got to be careful. But yes, I agree.
We're screaming to Facebook.
I know. We're not saying it. But yes, I'm loving LinkedIn lately. And again, of course, you have those people that randomly will bot you with crazy stuff, but for the most part, there's some really wonderful people on LinkedIn.
There are people who are interested in business.
Yes, so
Andrea, even if they're randomly botting you, they're interested in business or helping your business grow. And so that's, I mean, it's for real. And it's a really good way to say, the last 2 or 3 episodes ago of this was a person who, Kat Ramirez, talks about LinkedIn. And so she's like,
oh, good. I'm going to check it out.
Just say, no, I'm not interested, but why don't you check out my podcast? And I'm like,
I have a tip. For that. You want me to share it?
Yes, share your tip.
Super quick.
Okay.
Basically, this was a while back. I took a LinkedIn course. I can't even remember, maybe a good 5 years ago. It was really helpful. And the one thing that the guy said is if you add a little icon, so if you go on my LinkedIn and if you look up my name, you'll see that at the beginning of my profile, I have a little star. So it's star Patty. So like a little icon of a star. And so what happens is if a bot is scraping names and inboxing, if the inbox has a star, I know it's a bot. So I don't even waste my time.
What? Wait a minute. So
you know what I mean?
So instead of actually, it's just scraping your name rather than just messaging you.
No. So these bots will grab your name. And then they'll inbox you, right? So when they grab our name, because I have that little icon at the beginning of my name, I know it's a bot. Because who's going to use
person would not put star Patty. They would just type Patty.
Exactly.
Y'all are going to find a pineapple at the front of mine today.
Yes. You should 100% put a pineapple. And then that way that'll not only is good for brand equity, but it eliminates the bots.
See, we walk away from these conversations every single time with extremely valuable information, like putting a pineapple in front of my name. Before we go, is there anything else that we've left out today?
I will say this. If it seems overwhelming and daunting, I love this book. Another great one. Dan Sullivan, where he talked about who, not how.
Yes.
And
that is so good. I just got chills.
So much. I love that book so much because he says, and I'll give you the gist of the book. He says, if you're in a bottleneck in your business, it's probably time for a who, because really successful entrepreneurs understand the value of time.
Yeah.
So I see this all the time where people are trying to just find it out on the internet. No, you're not. This is why you need coaches like Andrea, like myself, or if you need copy, you need somebody like me to help you. Like, why make it hard? Time is of the essence. That is the one thing you can't get back. It's so the 3 powers: time, money, and energy, right? Time, so important. Really successful people understand the value of time, more important than money.
Yeah.
Right. And then the money side of it is like, wow, am I really using my time wisely? Blah, blah, blah. And the third one is energy. If you feel frustrated in doing these things, don't do it. It just doesn't make sense. We make it so hard when it doesn't have to be.
He gives such great examples in that book of people who saved money
and
wasted their energy.
Exactly.
And saved money and wasted their time. And what was that dude that fell off his roof? You remember that story? I mean, it was just
I
like
do.
he instead of getting a roofer to do it, he did it himself and fell off and
Exactly. What are
was
we
like crushed.
doing?
And it just brought it all kind of home to help me remember there are some things that I need to just pay for because it's faster and it's going to give me a
Yes.
return on investment. And if you're a
Yes.
business owner, the ROI matters every single day.
Yes.
So your time is worth it. Your time, Patty, is worth it. Mine is worth it.
Mhm.
And we can part with a little bit of money in order to make things move faster. I have another coach friend who said, whatever's going to make the boat go faster, right?
Mhm.
Whatever's going to make the boat go faster.
It's
And
true.
so I think all that we've learned today is going to make our boats go so much faster. Thank you for those
Good.
great reminders. And y'all need to come back through this. And like, I don't have a transcript, sorry, but you need to come back through and get all these books and go read them. I've read almost every single one that she's mentioned. So just what a treasure trove. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate you.
Hey, have a fabulous day.
You too.